When it comes to the NBA draft, all teams try to solve a few problems: fit, need, talent. That is in no order also because each one of them depends on the franchise and the position the team is drafting in. In today's video, we're going to be answering why Oklahoma City Thunder had an A+ draft in 2022. And this video doesn't answer the question of if OKC will be competitive in 2023, but we're just going to go over how they addressed going into the draft, how aggressive they were in this draft, and also what it does for the team going forward into the future. I believe there were a lot of winners and losers in this year's draft, but that's going to be for another video. And so with today's video, I wanted to introduce myself to you. It's your boy Till, and we're going to be covering NBA content here on the channel. Obviously, if you go through my archive, I was once an NBA 2K creator, also played a lot of NBA Live, and so I'm going to take that knowledge that I've gained from the years of basketball that I've had experience playing, enjoying the video games that have come out with it, and also just my general knowledge of the game in itself. So if you enjoy this type of content, hey, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and let's go ahead and get into why this team had an A+ draft in 2022. So if we talk about the core of this team that is still in place from previous seasons, there are only 3 players remaining from that 2020 team that went to the playoffs in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Darius Bazley, and Lou Dort. With this video being pre-free agency as of 6/28/2022, barring any great roster or organizational changes by the Oklahoma City Thunder, the core of this team is still building. Obviously adding Josh Giddey from the previous draft, Trey Mann, and just seeing the direction the organization will go as far as how they want to develop its talent. Now I want to put an asterisk on this video just to go ahead and say that one thing when it comes to developing any type of talent or just developing yourself as a player, the number one thing you're gonna need is confidence. And that will be something that I can't answer for you guys, because we've all seen players that we've thought had high ceilings going into the draft, they get drafted, and sometimes that element of confidence doesn't show up in the NBA, translating from the college, high school, or even overseas game into the NBA. And if those players can fit in their role effectively and also shine in those roles. But outside of that, we're gonna go ahead and get right into what OKC addressed with this draft in 2022. And the first thing I will say is OKC answered the size issue. If we go back and look at the last 2 previous seasons of the Oklahoma City Thunder since they've started this rebuild, is that some of their biggest players were only 6'8" to 6'10". And to go ahead and set the table for the previous season, as in the 2021 season, Oklahoma City only had one 7-footer in Poku, who was objectively physically not developed yet, and the next was a 6'10" Mike Muscala, who is arguably just a stretch 4 trying to play the big, and he's not necessarily a rim protector at that. So those are huge issues to try to fix when you're going against a lot of larger talent in the league. So from a structure standpoint, as a defense, as a team, in games that left players like Darius Bazley playing the 5, Derek Favors, which he didn't play much at all, and also Jeremiah Robinson Earl having to play the 5 with both Baze and JRE being 6'8". Not saying they're not capable of playing that role, but that makes it extremely difficult, especially with Baze being more of a wing player and JRE being more in that power forward type of size range. Something else we can point to when it comes to the size issue that Oklahoma City was struggling with is to pull up some examples of games that Oklahoma City lost simply because of the rebounding battle that we couldn't keep up with. If we look at the first 3 games of the season and also one of the wins, Oklahoma City lost the rebounding battle alongside struggling in the turnover category as well. And that left Oklahoma City in a vulnerable position, because if you're not winning the rebounding battle and you're also committing the same amount of turnovers as a team that is scoring more, that's going to put you in a stressful situation and you're always having to dig yourself out of a hole. I feel like this draft solves a few of those problems if these players develop and have the confidence to do what they did in college and overseas at the next level. So specifically when it comes to the size, we drafted 3 players over 6'10", one potential generational talent in Chet at 7 foot, and also added playmaking, which each draft pick has above average vision in passing the ball. And also 3 out of the 4 picks have exceptional ball handling abilities in Chet, Ousmane, J-Dub, which is Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. And these guys can really make something shake with the ball in their hands, adding to the shot creation ability of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So when it comes to fits, this allows players such as Bays or JRE to return to the 4 or the 3 position on the floor. That way they can be wing defenders. And it creates a much larger lineup with guys like Jaylin Williams out of Arkansas, Chet being the 7-footer, generational talent that we're hoping him to be, and also with Giddey, Lou, and Shea. And so outside of that, that'll also create a lot of different matchups with potential lineups coming to the floor such as Chet, Jalen Williams, Bays, JRE, and Giddey. Now, I know that's a big lineup, but we never know how this team is going to develop and what direction they're going to go with that. But if we look at each individual player also, Chet is going to address a lot of scoring issues as well, especially near the rim. Those opportunities for our bigs to put the ball back up, along with stretching the floor, being able to go into a 5-out pick and pop scenario. He's going to be that person that's going to be that Swiss Army knife for the team. Then we move on to a player like Jalen Williams of Santa Clara, pure shot creator, guy who can find his own shot. He really doesn't need a lot of help, especially even in the pick and roll, but now he's also a knockdown shooter as well. So depending on the role that he's going to be given, this guy's going to be able to create for himself, but also knock down shots and take some responsibility away from guys like Giddey and Shea when they're going to be primary ball handlers. One sleeper player that we also should address is Ousmane Dieng. And Dieng, coming out of the NBL, also having that pro experience, which they play a style that is very compact defensively in the paint, so you can't necessarily get easy drives. He's going to be a player to watch simply because he can play make for his own shot, and he has the vision to create for others as well. Being 6'10", I don't know what his effort and energy is like on the defensive end, but he has the potential there. And that's going to be the thing, to have 3 6'10" plus guys in this draft with Chet, Ousmane, and Jalen Williams out of Arkansas. That creates a lot of opportunities for Oklahoma City to increase its size overall. So now we're moving on to the development category, and I like to look at the game from a perspective of how the players fit together and what strengths they'll potentially have as a unit. If you look at the pedigree of the guys that they drafted in this draft specifically, they have a pass first mentality. If we look at the combination of Chet's game, being able to create for his teammates, even in a lot of traffic ridden situations, Ousmane being able to push the ball up the floor at 6'10" and also have a nasty step back stutter 3-point shot, and Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara being able to create for himself to get a shot, but also dish off, and J Will out of Arkansas to be able to space the floor, but also be a willing cutter and a willing passer. The pass first mentality is clearly seen with this team coming in out of the 2022 draft. I think that's going to be huge for the Oklahoma City Thunder going into this upcoming season if these players show up in the time that they're allotted this season. The next thing we can point to is matchup nightmares, with multiple guys being able to create a shot for themselves on this team, ranging from Trey Mann, Bays, Shea, Giddey, Chet, and obviously I can name each and every person, but specifically in this draft, 3 out of the 4 players have strong ball handling ability to not necessarily need a screen, a pass, or any of those situations to find a shot for themselves. And that's going to create a lot of matchups, because we already saw that Shea was one of the most double teamed players in the league statistically this season, and Giddey coming in being able to relieve him in some situations, hopefully adding those numbers with guys like Chet, Ousmane, or J-Dub. These guys will be able to now have that freedom, because each player needs to be respected on the floor if they get the ball in their hands. Another development point I'm noticing with the draft picks that we're getting is a chemistry factor. The team has been consistently looked at as a fun team, with vets like Chris Paul, Al Horford, Derek Favors, and even Mike Muscala complementing the environment the Oklahoma City Thunder have that's being built here for the foreseeable future. And that creates a lot of positivity, because even if you notice recently this summer that the Oklahoma City Thunder players have been hanging out as far as pre-draft in Miami, and they're just very supportive of each other. And we know that chemistry doesn't show up up on the win-loss column, but that says something about the core and the organizational environment that's being built with the Oklahoma City Thunder. But to surmise this video, I wanted to address the 3 things that every NBA team is trying to achieve when they're drafting in each NBA draft, and that is fit, need, and talent. And the Oklahoma City Thunder are sowing the seeds of a new perspective for an NBA franchise, looking to build through the draft and select the players that fit the OKC style going forward, with adding size that was very much needed, being noticeable through the last 2 seasons, with Bays and JRE pretty much playing the 5, being undersized in that area, playmaking ability with 6'10 plus players, being able to play make for the others around the floor, and arguably drafting the best talent in this draft in Chet Holmgren. Hey, this doesn't guarantee success, but boy, it sure does look good for the Thunder going into the future. Once again, I'm your boy Till, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, like, turn on those notifications, and we'll have more NBA content coming your way.